Greetings, folks. Welcome to another one of our free Friday community classes. This one being filmed in the still of the night because it's been a crazy week. My clinic schedule's been full and I've been doing lots of prep work for things to come. And so I'm kind of sneaking this class in last minute in the middle of the night to get it out on time tomorrow. So I'm excited though, because when I get to pull books off my bookshelf and talk about books with you all, I get very excited. And this has been kind of an informal series that we've been doing for a while where I'll talk about essential books, right? Books that if you're learning about occult botany or herb magic or whatever, these are the books that you want to have on your bookshelf, in my opinion. So I'm excited because in this class I'm going to share a few books that have either been foundational in my clinical practice, the way that I serve the people who visit me in the clinic, the people that I work with as a professional herbalist, or that have helped refine and hone the way that I practice herbalism over the years. So without further ado, first, the 2-volume version of Maud Greaves' Herbal, right? And there's a reason why I always tell people to buy these books. Always, always. And it's not generally what people think, right? People generally see the way that I practice and they want to get into the elemental energetics and the constitutional and temperamental assessments and the tongue and the pulse diagnosis and all of that cool stuff. You will not find any of that in these books. But people also like that I can tell stories about plants, that I have folkloric references to the ways that plants have shown up ancestrally since time immemorial. Those kind of stories you will find in these books. Now, Maud Greaves may not have written them all out, but she alludes to them and she says, oh, there's this thing that gets said about this. And so mixed in with her botany and growing and medicinal preparations and all the beautiful things that are in these books, you will find story. And for me, story is a way that we can open our hearts, our intuition to the plants. It's the way that our relationships with the plants have been handed down generation after generation through story, right? So very important. I think that up there with the top 3 materia medica that a person could own, again, in my opinion, would be Maud Greaves' Modern Herbal. The 2-volume set, it's broken up into A through H and I through Z because there's a ton of material. These are not kind to folks who have a hard time with small text. I mean, it is volumes packed into these 2 books, right? But well worth the investment, well worth hunting them down. And for me, on a personal level in my practice, these books have been paramount into initiating me into the ways of plant medicine. With that, let's get into some of the deeper clinical stuff that folks always ask me about. So differential diagnosis, energetic assessment, tongue, pulse, face, skin, posture, sound of voice, the way that herbal energetic profiles sympathize with or contrast with the energetic profiles of disharmony and how to explore that. A 101 would be one of my teachers, Michael Tierra's Planetary Herbology. I know we've talked about this book before. I beat mine up. It's in my bag all the time. I've got a copy at clinic. I've got a copy on my reference bookshelf here at home. This is a really beautiful reference for the energetics of herbs. So it is a materia medica. Herbs are listed by their energetic functions, like being anti-rheumatic or emmenagogue or sedative and nervine. But what you will find in this book is beautifully laid out the energetic expression of the herbs, not only through their actions, through being astringent or diaphoretic, but also whether the herb runs hot or cold, or damp or dry, or has an ascending or descending, or a condensing or diffusing quality. And it's this kind of language that we need to really understand when we practice these deeper, more ancestral styles of herbalism. So, planetary herbology, you can start here, and then if you're brave, you move on to Michael and Leslie Tierra's Chinese traditional herbal medicine. Now, planetary is Michael's tradition of herbalism, where it's planetary. He's found the way that Western, Chinese, and Ayurveda, and some Unani and other things kind of agree in certain ways. There's points of agreement, and he's really blown that up. So this is planetary, the herbalism of the planet. The orange books are very specifically traditional Chinese medicine, which I don't practice. I do work in a Chinese medicine clinic, so I have to be fluent in this, but I am because I'm trained that way. But even for folks who practice an exclusively Western style or a Greek style or an indigenous style, why not bring these concepts of energetics and differential diagnosis and patterns of disease into your understanding, even if all it does is refines or hones the way you already do things. Volume 1 is Diagnosis and Treatment. It's the book that you can see is beat up. I reference this all the time in my clinical work. And then Volume 2 is Materia Medica and Herbal Resources. So now we're going to see herbs in detail, specifically lots of Chinese herbs, but also lots of Western herbs explored through the lens of traditional and classic and mainstream Chinese medicine, which is a beautiful, beautiful tradition and one that has informed so much of what I do. I say that I practice a Western or Indo-European ancestral version of plant medicine, but absolutely influenced by the Chinese. There's no way not to. On that note, Dr. Wang Guang's 10 Key Formula Families in Chinese Medicine, he's written several books. This is the only one you can easily find. And Wang Guang is like the esoteric voice of contemporary expressions of traditional Chinese medicine. He explores formula and patent and medicine in a way that is so profound and so beautifully tied to spirit and emotional state. It's just a really lovely book. And this particular one was gifted to me by a friend. And like 2 years ago, he was of course on my radar, but I never would have talked about this book. Now, it's changed the way that I think about how I formulate. He talks a lot about Di Yao style formulation, 2 herbs, but also more complex herbs. And really, the book is about breaking down, a big part of the traditional and classic Chinese patent formulary into 10 families of how herbs are put together, with one herb as kind of a leader for each of the families. So there's, a section on cinnamon. It's just really poignant, beautiful book. And even if you don't work with these herbs, and I mostly don't, I mostly work with Western herbs, the concepts will change the way that you think about formulation, and that's really what's important. Last but not least, I had to take some bookmarks and post-it notes out. A book that for me would be fundamental reading if you're interested in practicing the way that I practice, which is Matthew Wood's The Practice of Traditional Western Herbalism. Certainly not the only or even the most clear presentation on Western herbalism, but you will get more in the first half of this book than most people can give you in a year. It's incredibly succinct and intuitive and poignant. And Matt's been doing this a long time, and he's been teaching a long time, and he's had a lot of great teachers and a lot of great experiences to the point where this is refined and sharpened, and you will feel it pry into your heart and into your brain as you're reading it, and you'll have one aha moment after the other. And again, flip side, so let's say that you're traditionally trained in Chinese herbalism, as I am, but also Western Vitalist. But let's say you're only trained in Chinese or only trained in Ayurveda. This book, even though it is purely Western, can only help you deepen and refine, give you some concepts that are different, that are similar, that are challenging, that are weirdly synchronistic. You just get better, right? I'll tell you all the time that the study should never ever stop, right? Life is not long enough to study in all the ways that we really want to study to be superior herbalists. So Matt Wood's stuff is fantastic, and a shout out to all of his online stuff as well. So just a few books. I think the last two we've done have been more on occult and magical herbalism. So I wanted to get more into books that I keep in the clinic, in the apothecary, for reference, books that I use to put together workshops and classes, books that I use when working with acupuncturists and Tuina practitioners and Ayurvedic practitioners and NDs and all of that. These are my go-tos. So if you have any of these books and you feel a certain way about them, whether you agree with me or not, drop in the comments. Let me know which ones you have and what you think. If any of these really like tugged on you and you're thinking about adding them to your wish list, let me know which ones and why. And we're gonna have to do part 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 on this, because this is a drop in the bucket of my go-to references. But I thought it was a fun mix of a few different traditions and angles, and hopefully introduce some new teachers and authors to some of you. And with that, I will send you out into the world of books and herb nerdiness with blessings of peace and plenty. I'll see you next time.